I'm making plays. I'm making hits. I'm making plays. I never miss. Haters gon' hate. Yeah, they gon' hate. But look at the clips. Just look at the clips. At the end of the day, I was made for this shit, dog. I was made for this shit. Nothing but green grass in my view. Hit him for 50 yards up the middle. All of my rushes are ready to move. Tell your quarterback, head on the swivel. Came all this way, so we hungry as hell. If we ain't winning, we ain't leaving the field. Overtime, now the shit getting real. Double overtime, shoot for the kill. I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. All of this ice in my veins. Tell me, how could there be anyone colder?
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome to another episode of Arrowhead PM, powered by Chiefs Kingdom. We are live streaming on YouTube. We are live streaming on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it these days. And we are happy to talk Chiefs football with you guys. Obviously, if you want to check us out on Twitter/X if you want to get updates at arrowheadam_PM and all the updates there. And we got a lot to talk about. Obviously, we got to talk about the Black Friday game against the Raiders. We're also going to preview the Chargers game on Sunday Night Football. But we got Ethan in the house. We got Corey in the house. And we got DG as usual. And let's just start off by the Black Friday game. Obviously, we're going to get right into it, okay? Black Friday. First Black Friday game that we've played ever. I think this is the second time Amazon has done Black Friday games lately. So last time we played a primetime game against the Raiders, we got our ass kicked on Christmas last year. This time we got revenge, but it might have not been the easiest game for us, especially. It was a 1917 victory for your Kansas City Chiefs at home with a botch snapped fumble recovery to seal the deal as they were driving down the field to get a game-winning field goal. A lot of stuff to digest with this game. We got the returns of Isaiah Pacheco, our starting running back, who had a flash of the brilliance that he brings to this offense. Charles Omenihu on defense. We're going to go over that film. So there's some positives there. Unfortunately, Spencer Schrader, who came and showed up as our kicker, got on IR, unfortunately. So now we have Matthew Wright. If you're a Chiefs fan, you definitely know who Matthew Wright is, and he played okay. But a lot to digest. I want to start with DG. Man, what happened?
Oh, with the yeah, man. You come out of these games feeling a little I don't want to say depressed or anything, but not feeling fully satisfied. Just because you know that this team can execute at a lot higher level. And I just feel like they didn't do that on Black Friday. They left a lot to be desired on the field. Not much confidence after a game like this, especially when it's against a team that hasn't been very good all year. First Raiders game when we went out to Vegas, I kind of feel like that was a more cleaner game by the Chiefs. Still more competitive. So division games are always, as we always label, are kind of weird or whatever, and can get quirky or whatever. You play these teams 2 times a year, so they know you the best. They know what you like to do. It's kind of hard to game plan for these games or whatever. But I felt like the first half, we were in full control. It wasn't pretty, but it still was, you just clearly see we were a better team at that point. Just some spots there where we just didn't execute, especially in the red zone area. And it's a spot where we're even really kind of struggling. So they got to really get that figured out. But still, felt like we did some really, really good things. The pass rush this week was a lot better from previous weeks. And I think Charles Omenihu added some juice to that room. You could clearly tell that there was a lot better emphasis of collapsing the pocket. He provided that a lot of times for them feel like that's one of the reasons why Chris Jones was able to get, his 2 sacks that he did get, and then George Karlaftis as well being able to kind of, get his sack as well. You just got to have guys in there that know what they're doing, rushing with integrity, but also having that tenacity to get after the quarterback and doing their job. So that's something that Charles Omenihu, I really feel like, provides for this team up into right now. It's yeah, just the lack of execution in certain areas. Left tackle areas was what we've been struggling at all year. YA, I just think this is a terrible matchup for him. I don't know what it is about the Raiders, but they bring out the absolute worst in him. Doesn't help that he's also playing hurt at this point in time. So that's something that's really working against us at this point. But just yeah, man, they just got to be better. Got another division game coming up against the Chargers. It's going to be tough as always. Don't expect it to be a blowout or anything like that, especially against a playoff team with potential. Great quarterback, a guy who I feel like in Justin Herbert, who's a top 10 quarterback in this league. This is going to be tough, man, but I'm glad they were able to come out with a win. At the end of the day, that's what championship teams do. They find a way to win, whether it looks ugly or not. And 11-1, moving on.
Ethan or Corey, what do you got? Any thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I mean, not much more than what DJ said, but I mean, you look at it, we're back-to-back Super Bowl champs. Like everybody's gonna give us their best shot, especially these in division games. I mean, we're not gonna blow these guys out 9 out of 10 times. Thing I want to see is, them finish the games off like they've done this year. That's something that in previous years, there's 1 or 2 games at least that we would have lost in previous years.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, this team has grown. Um, yeah, I would love to see a blowout. I think we all would. But to me, a win's a win. I I'm not going to complain about a win. Now, obviously, there's stuff I want to see done better. Stuff I want to see improved. Play calling for one.
Yeah.
I know, Dom. You said you would want to talk about that a little bit, but it's getting these guys to go out there and put a full 4 quarters out. Like we see it, last 2 minutes of the game or whatever. Like you see these guys stepping up, making the plays, but it's like, where were you the other 3 quarters? So that's what I want to see is just kind of hoping this week that we'll get to see a little bit more of that because this is a playoff caliber team. This is a team that will probably be there in January at this point. So I'd like to go out there and see them play a full 4 quarters for 1 week. So
What about you, Corey?
For me, I'm going to be a little bit of the Debbie Downer here. So it doesn't look to me like I keep hearing a lot of people say this is the same team as last year. It's not. Last year, our defense was clutch in the fourth quarter. Anytime we put the ball in the defense's hands, they came up with the end of the fourth quarter stop to secure a victory. We just, in the last 5-game stretch, I can remember, we watched Bo Nix march us down the field on the final drive, ended in a block field goal. We watched Bryce Young march us down the field at the end of the fourth quarter. We watched Josh Allen march us down the field at the end of the fourth quarter. We watched Aiden O'Connell march us down the field at the end of the fourth quarter. I don't think we can kind of go into the playoffs with the same mentality that the defense will do enough. We're going to have to rely on this offense to start to put it together. We're going to get Hollywood back probably after Christmas. I think we're going to have to see a change in the way we scheme up these games if we want to make a deep push in the playoffs. Every week we keep hearing, this is the week we're going to see them put it together. We're playing the Panthers or we're playing the Raiders. This is the team that this is the game we're going to blow them out. And one aspect or another, the team just doesn't put it all together. And you can see a lot of the lapses on tape. There's big glaring holes in the secondary and the linebacker room when it comes to athleticism and side-to-side speed. the offensive tackle position. It's just we've got a lot we've still got to fix if we want to make a clean push through the playoffs. But the one thing I don't like hearing is that this is the same thing we did last year, because it's not. The defense was very crucial in making fourth quarter stops in all of last season, and this year it's kind of been the opposite. We've got a little bit of luck on our side after the defense is folded. And B, we've got to figure something out about the left tackle position. You can't. You can tell Mahomes is frustrated. Kelsey is frustrated. The whole team is frustrated, but we're not the Jets. We're not going to throw the players under the bus, but we got to find a way to fix it.
100%. One of the things that really frustrated me, as we will probably talk about, and I'm pulling up the stats right now, but we just got Isaiah Pacheco back, and I get it, he just came off injury. But what was very odd to me is that we only had 16 carries, 16 rush attempts, basically.
Oh,
Yep.
Dom dropped.
Now,
Hold on, guys. We'll get Dom back in here in a second. A little technical difficulties. But yeah, as he was speaking to the Chiefs did kind of get away from the run game a little bit, and I feel like that didn't really help with the game
All
plan.
right.
Go ahead, Dom.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so we only did 6 rush attempts, by the way. Sorry about that. 6 rush attempts, right? So let's put into context here. So Mahomes threw 46 times. I don't think he's thrown that much all year. I think the only other opportunity was maybe against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but otherwise he's been in the mid-30s consistently, and that's a good spot for him. I get it, he's the best quarterback in the league, but against the Raiders, no less, I think that's the one thing that's really frustrating, is it's against the Raiders. The Raiders were throwing 46 times. I get it. The most ironic thing to me is that, you look at Kareem Hunt, as soon as he got signed back with the Chiefs, he had the second most carries in the league since he returned to the Chiefs, behind Derrick Henry. So they were giving the rock to Kareem Hunt consistently to establish a running game, and it's been very good for us. Obviously, that's why we are 11-1. But the funniest shit is, as soon as Pacheco gets back, it's like we start chucking balls, and that's all we do. And that's the one thing the Chiefs fans have been wanting, is that we want to give the ball to Pacheco. I get it, he came off injury, but you still have Kareem Hunt. We got away from the run. I don't know if they thought, I know they couldn't really get anything started in the run game, so maybe Andy was like, let's just pass the ball. But if I'm watching the second half, guess how many carries, running back, how many run plays the Chiefs played in the second half? Anybody want to give a guess?
I think it was like 4.
yeah, I'd say 4 or 5.
It was 4. 4 rush attempts for a team that's been consistently trying to establish that we are running the ball. And this comes with another caveat that's been annoying me, and I love the guy. I'm tired of this notion.
Well,
Dom,
Here.
it don't want Dom to talk when he talking. It's like, you talking crazy right now. Dom is done for the night.
They're trying to stop me from talking this game.
Yeah. StreamYard don't like what you saying, brothers.
Dude.
Like,
So,
quit talking about the Chiefs like that.
I don't like this notion that we're practicing in games.
Right.
I think that's been established by popular media, especially like Nick Wright. And, I get the idea of wanting to see what works in situations and holding things back for the playoffs. I get that that's what Andy does, but I'm tired of this mentality that some people have for the Chiefs, where it's like we are the LeBron Cavs, where we don't care about the regular season. We're just going to make a flip of the switch in the postseason. I don't like that.
I will say this. If there's any truth to that, it's the dumbest thing the Chiefs could be doing right now.
100%.
This 1 seed is more important this year than it's ever been. That we just got off a 3 game and 12-day stretch, and we have a 3 game and 10-day stretch coming up. We had the bye week like 8 weeks ago. There's no end in sight until you get to the playoffs. So it is all playoff caliber teams coming up. So this defense is going to need a break. They're wearing down. You can see it. They're visibly exhausted out there on the field. The 1 seed is more important than it's ever been, not because of the home field advantage, because they need a break. They need a week off. They need time to be able to recover, get their legs back underneath them for a playoff push. If we come out and have to play wild card weekend, we're going to be dragging out that same slow, tired defense that is struggling to catch their breath as it is. I think you have to kind of put the foot on the gas pedal right now. Try to get that 1 seed just for the simple fact of being able to give the guys a rest before the playoff starts.
100%. It's just frustrating as a Chiefs fan. I get it. Like the meme that was going around is, the same meme we do all the time. I'm happy for a Chiefs football game. I think I'm going to die. Oh, we won. It's not always fun, but there are some positives. Obviously, like Charles Omenihu's return. I'm going to bring up some plays real quick. DG, why don't you talk about our guy Charles Omenihu and what he's brought back since in just this game alone?
Yeah. First, I kind of want to speak to it. Did nobody ever say this thing chasing a 3P was going to be easy? So I think people also have to keep that in mind too. It's still a very competitive league. I think I put out the stat the other day that like 300. I think there have been 380 games, and out of 308 games of those have been one-score games, or decided by 8 points or less. So it's one of those leagues where it's you got to remember these guys who you're playing against are professionals, and they want to, as much as they get paid and stuff like that, they still want to win too. So you're gonna get people's best shots at the end of the day. But the Chiefs, I do agree with everybody's points that they have to play better, and they have to execute a lot better, especially in certain situations. But speaking of Charles Omenihu, yeah, man, I just felt like he brought that tenacity and juice and that angriness that they kind of need, that nastiness that they kind of need to this defensive line. We see all these guys on the line, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones. Those guys they're fun, and they're clowns, and you see them hyping each other up on the sidelines or whatever. But sometimes I feel like you need that one guy that's just a dog and doesn't care about who's on that other side at all or whatever. And I feel like Charles Omenihu really brings that kind of effort to this team. You could clearly see he played 34 snaps off the IR, which is wild because I didn't expect him to even play that much. You could clearly tell by the end of the game he was gassed. But you could also see that he's ready to give it every ounce of effort that he can give to this team, and I feel like he rushes with a purpose and a plan. That you can always tell it's something that's premeditated for him or whatever. And I feel like he just brings that savviness to this team. It's something that they're going to need, especially going down the stretch. Hopefully, this time around, he can stay healthy, especially through this playoff run. We've seen how significant he was for when he came back off of suspension last year. I think he had like 7 sacks and within 6-7 game span or something like that. It was crazy. But yeah, he just brings that juice that this defensive line needs at this point in time. I can't wait to see what they have planned for him and having him and Uche and George Karlaftis and Chris Jones on the field at the same time to see what they come up with. But I just feel like he even a couple plays here, he just helps push the pocket, knows what to do, like how he flushes. He gets Aiden O'Connell to flush him out the pocket and creates that sack for George. So it's just the disruption that he can bring. It's not necessarily about him getting to the quarterback or anything like that, but him being able to come in and do his job at a very high level and help guys around him with their one on ones and win their one on ones, and that's something that you've seen in this play right here. George being able to win off the edge, or if he can provide that for the rest of the year, I think this pass rush has a chance to really elevate their play going into the playoffs.
Yeah, like just even though the game didn't go exactly the way Chiefs fans would like, just seeing the impact that he made immediately off the jump is just it's just a breath of fresh air, especially with how things went. Um, when it comes to the pass rush, there's one person that's missing, honestly. Josh Uche. So we obviously traded him for a 6th-round pick. He's been getting limited snaps, but I feel like this game specifically was kind of an indictment when you look at the snap count. He only got 1 snap, and it was a special team snap. So
Well, he did get in at one point in the game, and they took him right out. Like after I think he came in, you could kind of see he was struggling to figure out where to line up or whatever. I think Nick was trying to get him lined up, and then there was a timeout called, and they took him out after that. And then we didn't see from him for the rest of the night.
I mean, he's a pass rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, even if he has to run out there on the field and say, and CJ says, "Hey, line up right
Look,
here."
yeah, just stand here, bro, and
That's
go,
what he's got to
go
do.
get the
You get
QB.
to the quarterback.
Stand right here, swing that ball, snap, go full on.
It ain't rocket science. Like, just put him on the field, man. 3rd and longs, 2nd and longs, or whatever. Just make it really simple for him. Look, you're on the edge. Go get the quarterback.
Right
That's
side,
it.
left side.
That's your job. Yeah,
Right
you
foot,
know,
left side. That's all I need to know.
be as disruptive as possible, because that's literally what this defensive line needs at this point in time. You've seen the way that Charles Omenihu, what he brought as far as, like I said, collapsing that pocket, rushing with integrity. If you can provide that for us, how many one on ones it creates, and then you allow a guy like Chris Jones, who's an All Pro in '95, to be able to do what he does best, and we see him shine on Black Friday, and I think a lot of that had to do with the addition of Charles Omenihu being back. So just adding Josh Uche to that, just it shouldn't be any problem for real. Just let him go get the quarterback.
I think the one thing that's frustrating is just what's the point of even getting him if we're not going to use him? Even like it's not that hard. It's not that deep. This isn't like a corner or a safety that just joined the team and he's trying to understand the Spags defense. Literally, if your job is just to get to the quarterback, I don't. I didn't play football personally, but I even know that if you're a pass rusher, it's not much complicated. You're on the edge, you try to beat the tackle that you're against. That's all you have to do. Unless there's a unique way that Spags wants Josh to do it, and I'm kind of wondering if at this point it's like he's not grasping the playbook or if he's still kind of injured. That might be the case, but it's the only thing that makes sense to me. But I don't think he's injured.
I think my theory on it is that there's some packages and things on that defensive line that they want to save for when they get to January football or whatever, and I understand that, but at the same time, like you got stuff on the line right here today. Like this Sunday night, you can literally wrap up the division and win your 9th straight AFC West title. Like there's a lot to still play for in the regular season too. I understand getting to the postseason and that's what really matters, but there's still a lot to play for right here and right now. The number 1 seed is on the line. The division is on the line. And you got to keep stacking wins because Buffalo they're not that far behind you, and they own the tiebreaker over you at this point right now with the head-to-head matchup.
And do you know how nasty it would be if we drop one and Buffalo wins out, and Baltimore drops down to the 7th seed, and we have to play them in the playoffs against against the Ravens. That's with a
Well, I
worn
think
down.
regardless, if we drop one and lose, and the same result happens, we still play a young and tough Broncos team, regardless of how we might think of Bo Nix or just the Broncos in general. They're going to be a tough out.
Yep.
Let's if not for that blocked field goal, that's an L, and that's the reality of the situation. It's just I'm hoping that we get more Josh Uche on Sunday. I think we should oh
I was gonna say, let me ask you guys this:
yeah, go for it.
the D tackle that we picked up from the Raiders last season,
Farrell?
Farrell. Yeah, Farrell.
yeah, Farrell.
Still Farrell.
What did we give up for him?
I think we traded.
I thought it was a 6th round draft
Yeah,
pick.
6th or 7th or something like that.
How many times he's seen the field?
I don't even think he's on the 53.
I think part of that.
So
I think part of that was Pinnell coming back. Pinnell stepped
Yeah.
up, taking on a bigger role.
No, I mean it was definitely that, and I think CJ coming back as well too. Like they wasn't sure exactly how long CJ was going to be out. So, I mean, I think there was a reason why they brought him in, obviously, but he didn't really stick around very long. So, hey, Uche, I mean, it may just be somebody that they're keeping for depth. I mean, I don't think so. He's shown that he can do it in the NFL, so you would think that they would use him or try to, but. I just wanted to kind of bring that up because it wouldn't be the first time that we traded for somebody that we didn't really use.
Yeah, Cam Thomas was like this because he traded for Cam
Yeah.
Thomas earlier on in the year, and we haven't seen much from him either. I just think they're saving, and I hate it because I really think they're trying to save him for the playoffs at this point in time. And I'm with you, Gordon. Like I don't want them to do that.
That
But-
defense is exhausted. If any
Yeah.
of them can get a break and get off the field for a couple plays, he would be in there.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's me, I wouldn't be doing that at this point in time. I just think you got too much on the line in the regular season still to play for, than to be worried about where you're going to be in January. And I feel confident with them playing against really any team in the league, but there are matchups that I feel like that if you in that wild card round you can run into where a team could just be hungrier than you and really want to beat you. And the Broncos are one of those teams that I feel like they match up very well with you. That Baltimore is going to be a tough out. Like, it's not going to be an easy game or whatever. I'm trying to think of who else is down there with them.
Well, imagine if the Chargers end up being the 7th seed. Do you want to play the Chargers a third time?
A third time, yeah. So
with Khalil Mack and Bosa and their defense being pretty solid in general? I don't want to face them again.
But that's the importance of getting the 1 seed, because even if you do face one of those teams, say one of those teams upset a Bills or something like that, now you're getting them a week after they had to go to Buffalo, play that, win that tough of a game, and then now come to you or whatever, and you're rested and ready, ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question for you guys specifically when it comes to Josh Uche. I feel like personally, and this is just me watching football for like 15 years and how I've been able to digest it, right? Do you think for a pass rusher specifically, it's like a shooter where pass rushers just got to rush, right? Rather than do you think they have to be on the field consistently or else they might be a little rusty? Or
so if it's a third down and long specialist, which I think Spags calls his NASCAR package when it's third and long, primarily yes, but you still have to be able to contain in case they run like an inside draw or something. But if you're playing on like first and second down, you have to be able to still set the edge while trying to get pressure and not allowing cutback lanes, not allowing a big hole for a running back to shoot to the left or shoot to the right. Or like we see with Karlaftis, where he does that spin move back inside and leaves a 15-yard running lane for a Josh Allen. I mean, even if you are a pass specialist, you still have other jobs that you have to do, which is part of it is contain, making sure that you set that edge, to where there's no cutback lane to the edge. You push everything inside to the big bodies, and you don't allow room for the quarterback to roll out. So it's a little bit more than just run after the quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess sorry, Ethan. I guess my thing is just like, oh, you go, Ethan. You go.
No, so I was just gonna address what you was asking as far as like, do they kind of have to get warmed up, basically? And I don't think with a pass rusher like necessarily that you have to get warmed up. Now, obviously, the more reps you get against a guy, you're gonna see his tendencies. You're gonna learn kind of his hand movements and what he's trying to do to you. And so I think that the more that they can be in there, the better off. To kind of get those tendencies down and understand what you're going to have to do in that scenario to get home. So I don't feel like it's necessarily like they have to be in there. I just think it definitely does help. I think that was your question more so.
Yeah.
Is
I guess
about warming
my
up.
thing is like, if you don't try to see what Josh Uche can provide the team, especially as a pass rusher, and you're just limiting him to like, I think the most snaps he's had is 5 since he's been back. I could be wrong. But I feel like without using him more, I don't know how Spags or Andy could be like, all right, this is what we're going to do in the postseason. Like, this will work perfectly without seeing it,
Mhm.
At least that's my opinion. I don't know if that sounds crazy, but
I think for me, getting different players, different reps against tackles, each defensive end has certain moves that they can perform better than others that will work on some tackles that won't work with others. Like I really expected a heavy dose of Crosby on the right side to go against Wanye. However, that other defensive end had that weird Superman dive two-hand swipe that was just absolutely killing Wanye. So they were just like, okay, he's beating him on that. We're going to keep lining him up there. And they were able to move Crosby everywhere else. Moving guys around along the defensive line allows to find mismatches. Bringing different people in with different skill sets will help find mismatches for weaknesses along the offensive line. You can see how well teams are doing it against us. They're finding players that have moves that Wanye can't handle, and they're dusting us with it. We're just not getting that rotation in. We're kind of just putting our first down group in, just letting them ride through the whole drive. And that's a confusing thing. We talk about how deep our bench is, but you've got our D line standing out there looking like they're having an asthma attack in the second round. Chris Jones was sweating, hands on his hips, couldn't breathe in the second quarter. And I'm like, man, take him out. Like he's no good at this point. Get some rotation in there. Get somebody else in. Move Karlaftis inside for a couple snaps and bring in Uche. Like, you got to figure something out to get people rotated in and out. We're just so worn down. It doesn't matter who we throw out there right now. Without fresh legs, we're not able to do anything.
100%. Let's talk about Mahomes and the offense specifically. Obviously, we talked about the play calling, and that was annoying, to be honest. And I brought that up. But Mahomes had an okay game. I know like him throwing 46 times was not great, but he had a great pass to Justin Watson for a touchdown, even when he was getting his ass handed to him by the defense. That was an incredible play. I'll bring it up real quick. But also looking at the game, like it seemed like there was a lot of missed opportunities by the Chiefs when it came to driving the ball down the field. Obviously, we got DeAndre Hopkins involved a lot. A lot, but at the same time, it's only 4 catches for 90 yards. But like Mahomes was able to pick out the certain spots to get DeAndre Hopkins in. There was a lot of like close one-handed catches that he could have had. I felt like Mahomes played okay. The connection with Kelsey is kind of confusing a little bit here and there. Obviously, like I think he's trying to find him, but then he's missing other guys. Like there's a play where he got the first down to Kelsey, but Juju Smith-Schuster could have just housed a touchdown. a lot of missed opportunities. And obviously, you try to get your stars the ball as quick as possible. But again, I feel like it just takes Mahomes to make a full read, and maybe he's not doing a full read of the defense based off of the left tackle situation. But you could see there are missed opportunities even when he has a little bit extra time. So I didn't know if Ethan or DG or Corey, if you want to talk about Mahomes and his play on Sunday or Friday. It was Friday. It was a Black Friday game.
I mean, even when you're not getting hit, if you're so used to getting hit 1.5 seconds after the ball is snapped, your eyes are always going to be facing behind. He's always going to be peeking over his shoulder. Every time you're looking over your shoulder like that, you break your reads downfield, and it throws your timing off. It's just he's not the same. You can tell how frustrated he's getting with it. I think it's getting in his head because even when the pressure's not there, he still feels like it is because, I mean, look at how bad he got beat right there. Luckily, the play was on that side, and his read was on that side, so he could see the defensive end coming right there. On other plays, he's almost scared to look to the right side of the field because if he's looking to the right side of the field, he can't see what's behind him. He can't see if Wanye gets beat instantly like that. If that's a throw to the right side, that's a sack, maybe a fumble, or the ball pops up for an interception. So I think it's really affecting the way that he's playing because instead of being able to go through his reads, he has to keep an eye on the left side of the tackle box. So I mean, just look at his stance there. Look at his eyes. Look at how he starts with his hips open to that side, opposite of what most right-hand quarterbacks do. Look at his stance. Most right-handed quarterbacks are the opposite way, catching it like this to be able to turn. He's catching it this way so he can see if Wanye gets beat instantly. But even when he's not getting hit, there's still that thought in his head that, hey, I've got like a 2-second clock. If I can't see it, I'm going to get hit.
Yeah. Corey's right. His internal clock is sped up right now, and I know it's a frustrating part for him just because it's something that I think that he's had to deal with, especially the last 2 years. I know it's getting to a point where it's getting frustrating because it's something that he didn't have to deal with a whole bunch when he first got here. I know people had their problems and issues with Eric Fisher and things of that nature, but that tackle play back then was a lot better. Mitchell Schwartz and Eric Fisher were a very serviceable duo that kept him clean and upright a lot of days and gave him plenty of time to scan and look down the field. But yeah, he's obviously operating at a point where he knows that there's obviously an issue at left tackle, and it's a lot worse than it was last year versus this year. Although I don't think Donovan Smith was great last year, there were times where you could see that veteran presence and him having that experience in this league carried carried them through games. And I think that's something that Wanye lacks at this point. I still feel like we're really still watching a rookie. Still try to navigate. I know people will say, "Well, this is his second year in the league," but he didn't play a whole bunch last year as well too. So you're still kind of watching those growing pains at this point in time. Something that I thought that they were probably going to have to deal with Kingsley a lot more, but obviously they've seen that those growing pains are a lot worse at this point. So I think that this week, you heard it in the pressers or whatever. DJ Humphries is going to start, and I think it's more imperative that he does just for his veteran presence alone and him having the confidence and the savviness that he's been able to play with this in this league up until this point. So, yeah, he's got to have somebody over there that he can semi trust, and I think DJ Humphries hopefully can provide that for him.
I'll put out some homework for you guys. Go back to the last couple plays that you showed.
Okay.
And watch Mahomes the way he lines up in his drop back. So I'm not going to act like I played quarterback. I played tight end. But in tight end, usually tight end is the third, fourth backup quarterback. So I played a lot of scout teams, some too. Look at how he catches the ball. Look at what foot is forward. His right foot is forward instead of his left. Usually a quarterback will catch with their left foot forward so they can immediately step back into position. He's actually, I guarantee if you look at this season, this game, and watch previous years, I guarantee you his drop back is completely different. Watch how he stays open to the left, and the front of his body is facing the field so he can see the left side. Look how square he is to that line. That watching that left side affects everything. Timing. You're not lined up downfield. You're not stepping into throws. You're throwing across your body. Every little detail of him having to watch that left side, is affecting his game. And it's we either deal with him getting put on his ass 30 times a game, or this is what we have to deal with for him to make sure that he can get the ball out in time.
Yeah. I think that and especially in this game, I think Andy and Matt Nagy did him a real disservice by trying to make this team play from shotgun so much. When the previous week they went under center a lot more. They got the ball out of his hands a lot quicker. To me, it was too much long developing routes like this or whatever. And I know they get the penalty call or whatever, but it's just it's when your line has a deficiency, you feel like you gotta adapt around that. So my solution to that would be getting the ball out a lot faster, a lot more quick timing routes. The run game has to be on point to a certain extent. Get underneath center, use play action, But in order for you to even do that, you have to be able to establish a run. You actually have to run the ball and not, only run it 4 times in a half. So I just feel like they got away from what they should, what they're actually can be good at.
That miss right there was nasty.
Yeah.
Look at how open he is.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is,
go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead. Like, if you look at the top of the screen, that's Kelsey's block, and he just lets that guy go easily.
Yeah.
If Kelsey gets at least a little bit of protection for Mahomes, he's gonna get him right there.
But then this play was so frustrating for me because now this goes back to where I get frustrated with Andy and Matt Nagy. Why is this the play on 3rd and 2? Right. 3rd and 2, we need 2 yards. Even if we don't get it, right? You run the ball and you keep the clock moving. You make the Raiders have to burn a timeout. With you throwing this incomplete now, you basically gave them a free timeout. So it's just not good situational football from a coaching standpoint.
And I'll say this too, and I'm going to hold him accountable, and people may disagree and say pressure was in his face. Mahomes has to loft that and let him run underneath it. Mm-hmm. There's only one way that something bad happens. It's 3rd down. So either A, you're punting it, so they're going to get the ball back there anyways. So if you underthrow in a 50-50 ball and it's intercepted, okay, they get the ball on the 10-yard line. You got to give him a chance to catch that. Throw that and let him run underneath it. And I've noticed that several times on some of those deep balls. He launches it on a line instead of like what he used to do with Tyreek, where he would loft it almost like Russell Wilson does. Those moon balls, and you let the receiver run underneath it. That's what you got to do with Worthy. He's shown that he has the ball tracking ability. So you can trust he's going to go find the ball. It's not like MVS. You have to give him a chance. Anytime you throw it 10 yards over his head, the play never had a chance. You got to give the receiver a chance. Throw it higher and let him have a chance to at least run underneath it and try to make a play on it.
Can't be here, no MVS slander anymore. Get down that ball and I seen you try to pick him up in the dynasty.
I mean, he's kind of on a heater, except for the last week. He did not do anything last week, I don't think. But we also saw Kadarius Toney against the Cleveland Browns. Do y'all miss him now?
He had MVS had a TD this last week.
Yeah.
He did. I'm getting
like the last 2 weeks.
He might as well be called Big Play Shay. Like, seriously, he just has one big play a game.
Pretty
Kind of
much.
miss. Do we
Big
miss
play
it? Is
quick.
King Harry here? Is that? Am I hearing King Harry
No,
here?
definitely don't miss watching him trying to track a football 30, 40 yards down the field. So yeah.
So this is what I gotta say when it comes to the tackle position and when it comes to Mahomes, because we see the stats since since the Chiefs acquired DeAndre Hopkins. He's 13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's got a 105 passer rating, or no, 101 passer rating, which is usually it's next to his career average. He has been playing better. He's not been turning over the ball like he did those first 6 games. Like he's putting out not Mahomesian like what people expect him to throw and have, but he's playing cleaner and better, right? And this has to do with the Chargers game specifically. My hot take is if DJ Humphries is 50% better than what Wanye is, I think based off the injuries that they're dealing with, especially at wide receiver for the Chargers, because Ladd did go out with an injury against the Falcons. I think this could actually be the double-digit win that people have been waiting for. Granted, it's a good defense that we are playing, but if DJ Humphries is 50%, just 50, slightly better than what Wanye has put on tape throughout this entire season, I feel like we'll get a better Mahomes. And that's saying something based off what's happened since DeAndre Hopkins has been on this team. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it could get. I've never seen a left tackle get beat so bad that he stays in a stance like this and just looks around like, did that just happen? Like, that man was already hitting Mahomes on that little one where he did the double hand swipe. He was already hitting Mahomes, and Wanye still standing there like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really bad when it's a guy like Kayvon Chason who just hasn't been good at all in this league. Got released from the Jaguars. I think he's bounced from a couple teams now. Now he's with the Raiders or whatever, and he made him look like he was an all-pro, defensive end out there. It was crazy.
He put Wanye in a dress and made him his girlfriend.
Yeah. Yeah, and it doesn't help when you got arguably the best pass rusher in Max Crosby in this league on the other side and being disruptive as well too. I think Jawan Taylor had an awful day as well.
That's the bad thing about it. When you've got somebody that is getting beat by the number 2 and number 3 defensive ends, it allows the defense to do so much more with stunts with Crosby and lining him up against in split gaps and pulling him around on stunts. When you've got somebody that's your number 2 and number 3 defensive end consistently winning on one side, it makes the defensive play calling so much easier when it comes to bringing pressure. And that's what they did. They lined Cheston up on Wanye all game, and he just cooked them all game. And so what did that do? You've got to bring help. As good as Taylor's played all season, he is not holding up one-on-one against Max Crosby every snap. And that's what we had to ask him to do.
Yeah, and that's 100%. A lot to ask from to face a guy who's all right. To me, in my opinion, Max Crosby is a top 3 defensive end in this league. I don't
100%.
Many defensive ends you could put over him.
And then it's kind of hard to ask the running back to chip when he sees 2 guys get beat immediately off the snap. It's like, well, which way do I go?
Yeah, right.
So we're looking forward to the Chargers game on Sunday Night Football. Obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Ladd McConkey got injured. We don't know really his health status for the game. He was literally, if you looked at the stats against the Falcons, and that game was not an exciting game to watch. Obviously, Kirk Cousins,
4 interceptions.
Not good. Penix watch is officially on the radar, but Ladd McConkey was literally 80% of the receiving yards for Justin Herbert. I know that every time we're like, okay, we have an advantage based off of their offense with most teams this year, that has never mattered. Yep. Especially like when we played the Chargers previously, which was 17-10, they were out Joey Bosa and a couple of other key pieces, and it was still a close game. So The thing is, it's going to be even harder. Justin Herbert's having a pretty good season. I think he has 13 touchdowns, 1 interception so far, which is might not be the numbers you'd like from a quarterback, but in terms of pass touchdown to interception ratio, it's pretty damn good. They are out J.K. Dobbins, which is a huge loss for them. But what do you guys think are the keys to the game for us to get this dub and seal the AFC West for good and get our 9th straight AFC championship?
Yeah, Chargers obviously come into this game a lot more healthier than they were the first time around when you played them. They'll have both starting tackles in all Slater. A lot more healthier Justin Herbert this time around. Last time you played him, he was playing on basically 1 foot. So he'll be a lot more mobile this time around. I really feel like the main key is disrupting that the passing game of the Chargers, throwing off the timing a little bit of them. Their receivers outside of Lad McConkey, I feel like isn't something that should scare you in this matchup. But at the same time, if you give Justin Herbert enough time to sit back there and analyze, and I feel he'll pick you apart. He's that cerebral enough and that talented enough to do that. Um, Stopping the run game is obviously a point of emphasis. Jim Harbaugh is definitely a guy who's going to come in here and try to run the ball and establish that. And Chiefs have done a very good job of being a good run defense, especially early on in games. A little bit leakier this last couple weeks, but still feel like they've done a serviceable job in being able to stop the run. But those would be my two keys: being disruptive in the pass game on the defensive side, stopping the run, offensively turnovers. You know, can't ever win a game. You turn the ball over multiple times, especially against this team, especially in a division game. I feel like if you turn over it multiple times, then this could be a game that could potentially get away from you. But I do believe that the not having Lad McConkey in this game for the Chargers and dealing with an AC joint sprain and a knee sprain at this point in time, so I don't think he's gonna go. If he does, I'll be shocked. But he's a warrior if he plays on Sunday night. But I think if taking him out of this game allows you to kind of be a little bit more risky in that secondary, a little bit. I expect to see Josh Williams play a lot more in this game. I think this is a matchup where he can kind of thrive in or whatever. And I would like to see them get Trent McDuffie back into the slot where I think he plays his best ball and using him as a weapon to kind of get after the quarterback and apply some pressure too. I think that's one of the reasons why the blitzes kind of haven't been working up until this point, just because some of the guys that you have been trying to supplement and do those with just don't have the same effectiveness as a guy who's been an all pro at that position. So, yeah, get after the quarterback. Don't turn the ball over. Run the ball effectively. And, yeah, man, score. Get when you get in the red zone. Do your job and execute.
What about you,
Yeah,
Ethan?
I mean, I agree with DG. You know, running the ball is obviously going to be the first thing that I'm going to say on this game. Just even if Humphreys is a starting left tackle, if he's 50% better, just getting him into game speed shape and just having him kind of familiarize himself with playing next to Tooney and, just being there and seeing what this offense is with him. I want to see us run the ball, establish that early and often. That's something that, like you discussed earlier, we just completely abandoned last week. So we need to get back to it. And I mean, you want to slow down the pass rush. That's going to be the first step to it is by running the damn ball. So that's really the biggest thing for me this week is, just our run game. Our pass game, we've improved tremendously throughout the season, continue to improve on it. So I'm not too concerned about it or, we know what it is. It's just mainly at this moment with pop back, feed them. between him and Kareem Hunt, we ought to be running the ball 25 times a game.
Yep.
I mean, there's no excuse for it. So,
What about you, Corey?
So for me, there's one thing I kind of want to see change with the defense. We've been running a defense where it's just been sides, where McDuffie will be on one side or in the slot, Jay will be on one side. This is a game that McConkey plays. I think it's a good game to have traveling corners. I think McDuffie is a good matchup for McConkey. They've got that speed and athleticism and quickness over the middle. I think I don't want to see Jay Will on that. He's too tall, lanky, and uncoordinated. McConkey will cook him over the middle. And the same kind of with McDuffie, where he struggled as some of those bigger wide receivers. And they've got Quentin Johnson, who's a little bit slower, but got that bigger body, which is a better matchup for Jay Will. I've noticed that we've struggled and teams have been good about finding mismatches against our corners. I'd like to see us go a little bit more man-to-man traveling to where we find the matchups we like and move the quarterbacks around on them. It's hard because we run a lot of zone, but I think this type of game here, if McConkey's the type of receiver that quick over the middle, find holes that could put up 150, 160 yards against it. So I'd like to see McDuffie kind of travel with him a little bit more. Hopefully, I mean, I don't want to say hopefully he doesn't play because then it'll be another excuse. Well, you played another team without their receivers. But
True.
If he does play, I'd like to see McDuffie on him a little bit more than what we've been doing. McDuffie hasn't really taken on that role Snead did last year. I thought after losing Snead, McDuffie would kind of be that one-on-one man against their number one receiver. And we haven't really seen a lot of that. I thought he'd kind of take over that Snead role, but he hasn't. I think that would help a lot. I think that if we could find matchups that benefit our corners and kind of have them travel a little bit, it'll help cover the deficiencies that we do have in the secondary.
the only thing I will say against that is I don't think Spags typically likes to travel his DBs. I mean, we've seen it, seen it a little bit with Snead last year. But
when Snead was here.
He did all last year. Snead was always on the number one. McDuffie was always on the number two. They traveled and moved around. I'm not saying do it all the time, but when a matchup base where you've got a short speed receiver that
I agree.
McDuffie, and then you've got a tall, slower receiver, which Jay Will is very solid at covering. I would like to see us take advantage of that and try to put those two on those two at all times to try to make them win somewhere else.
I agree. I mean, obviously, like I said, I think it'd be a smart decision. I just, for whatever reason, it astounds me that we don't do it more often than what we
Jay
do.
Will, he reminds me of a giraffe when he gets turned around. He just lacks a little bit of coordination, which helps him turn his hips. Like if you guys ever seen a giraffe run, they run straight ahead, but if you ask them to turn sideways, they're just going to fall straight over. But that's what I said. I don't think it'd be a very good matchup if we see Jay Will on Ladd at all. Ladd is just so quick and shifty. I think we saw a couple earlier in this season where I think it was Reed on one of them and Jay Will on another one where the quarterback or the receiver put a move on them and put them on their ass. I think we could see some of that with a receiver like Ladd on Williams.
So I think for me personally, 3 things I want to see. Obviously, like Ethan said, I want us to have 20 to 25 plus carries for our running backs. Hell, it could even be a couple to Carson Steele for a 1-yard game at this point. We just need to establish the run. I know we were probably a little hesitant since Pacheco came back from injury, but you even saw the main difference between having Pacheco and having Hunt is that Hunt, he's not going to break you for a 20-yard, 30-yard gain. He's going to get those 5 to about 15-yard gains when he gets the ball, right? With Pacheco, he has the burst and the speed to really break a game open with his running ability, especially when we saw it for the brief moment we did against the Raiders. So allow that balance to happen. Let the thunder and lightning happen for this Chiefs running attack because it has the potential to really make things even easier for Mahomes. If Mahomes is getting wrecked by a pass rush, the best thing you can do is to run the ball. At least let them run the ball. So if we establish the run and do that, I think things are going to look even better for Mahomes, especially in this game. I think Mahomes is going to play clean football. I'm not even asking for the 404 touchdown game that we all wish Mahomes could do lately, but I'm not even asking that. Do what it takes to win. If it has to be a close win, it's a close win. It's just the way it is at this point. I think it's possible for them to blow out this team, but I mean, with what they've been putting on tape this year, it's looking like it could be the 15th straight consecutive one-score victory for the Chiefs, which broke the record from the 2003-2004 Patriots, which could be a good sign for them, but at the same time, you just wish you could just dominate a game. We all wish we could see a blowout. Probably not going to happen, but again, DJ Humphries, I'm very excited to see what will happen. As long as he's not Wanye or even Kingsley when he came back briefly, I think things will look a little bit better. I think Chiefs got this. I'm probably going to go with a 24-21 kind of thing. But if DJ's better, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like a 24-10 victory.
For me, looking at the injury report today, seeing the long snapper for the Chargers did not practice today. I could see us winning off of a missed field goal again. And that's going to make some people mad, but it is what it is. So I'm going to say I like your score, 24-21. I'm going to have to go with that one as well. Chargers have a chance to tie it up and miss field goal.
Just seems to happen all the time. Go for it, Corey. Sorry.
I'm going to say 34-24. Chiefs are up by 7. Defense gets a stop. We kick a field goal in the fourth quarter to go up by 10 and win 34-24.
What are you, DG?
I think I said last night on our other pod, I think I went with 24-20. But I also would say that I won't be shocked to see if the Chiefs actually lose this game. Just the way they've been playing the last couple of weeks, I think they've been kind of playing with fire. So it wouldn't surprise me to this point. If Chargers came riding to town with a lot to play for, obviously playoffs are on the line for them as well too. Obviously they still have a semi good chance of trying to win the division up until this point. So I'm not really sure on my score prediction, but hopefully the Chiefs can go out there and get a dub on Sunday in this game. If Live McConkey doesn't play, I think that's really big for the Chargers.
100%. Looking at the Week 14 slate, other than the Chiefs-Chargers game, which is probably the most exciting, a lot of divisional matchups this week, especially on Thursday. This is going to be a huge one. Detroit at home versus the Packers. Packers are looking a little bit better since that loss to Detroit, really establishing the run. And with the Detroit team kind of dealing with a lot of injuries, if they slip up, they could go from the 1 seed to the 5 easily. So they're kind of like us where they have to maintain these dubs in order to keep that 1 seed, because I don't know if you've been watching, but Philly looks like a freaking juggernaut at this point, led by Saquon Barkley. Other matchups I like for this weekend, praying to God maybe the Rams beat the Bills, but the Rams are kind of up and down this year. That entire NFC West is up and down. You also see a rematch between the Cardinals and the Seahawks again. Kirk Cousins is returned to Minnesota. which is should be fun to watch. Hopefully he's not really bad again. Otherwise, like it's a pretty decent slate, and I'm really excited for this Thursday game specifically.
Yeah, definitely excited for tomorrow. Finally get a decent Thursday night football game with something meaningful on the line. So definitely excited to see those two teams go at it again. Obviously, the first matchup went a little differently. I think Detroit was more better physical team, but I think the elements kind of played in their favor as far as how they like to play the game as well. Too, that run game is phenomenal, man. That duo between Gibbs and Montgomery is virtually unstoppable. Man. But I think that this game plays more in favor of what the Packers like to do as far as passing the ball and being indoors this time. So I expect some points in this game. And hopefully it'll be a fun one, man.
Here's my bold prediction for the week.
All right.
So right before watch us beat the Chargers, we're going to see Kyron Williams go for over 75 yards. Puka Nacua over 100, Cooper Kupp over 100. Rams beat Buffalo by a touchdown.
Wow.
That
We're
is
just-
very bold.
We're just praying for the Bills to lose.
That is very
Just one
bold.
game. We just need one game.
Right.
And the thing is, I think next week the Bills face the Lions. So and the Rams are sneaky because Stafford still has some great football left in him. Finally got Puka back.
Is he
You
going
know-
to play this week, though?
I don't know, man.
I think he's banged up. Stafford.
Well, guess who they got as their backup quarterback, Ethan? Good old Jimmy G. Does Jimmy G got one big game left in him?
Is he still on suspension? I think
Would
he's
that be-
actually off of it.
Would that be the equivalent of Ryan Fitzpatrick coming in for the Dolphins and beating the Bills when they were massive underdogs?
Could be. It's crazy, man. But yeah, decent slate. But obviously the Sunday night football game against the Chargers is probably the game of the week in my opinion, other than the Thursday night game. There's other good matchups. Cleveland against the Steelers, I think is going to be fun regardless because of Jameis Winston specifically. Might be the most entertaining quarterback to watch this year. And what I've had Cleveland as a playoff team this year. And if Jameis was the starter the whole time, I feel like they would be in playoff contention. At least that's my opinion. I could be wrong, obviously, but anything better than Deshaun Watson.
I said it at the beginning of the season after a few games. We saw what's his name, Flacco did with that team last year. It went from Deshaun Watson to Flacco. The team completely turned it around and played great. Then Deshaun comes back at the beginning of the season. They look like crap again. At that point, I was like, Watson's a problem. Put anybody else in there, quarterback. They've got the talent. They've got the defense. They've got the running backs, the O-line. They should be able to win games. And then Watson gets hurt. They look like a different football team again with another quarterback.
It is what it is, man. All right. Seems like this is a good stopping point for tonight. Obviously, Sunday night football against the Chargers. Guys, make sure to follow us at Arrowhead AM_PM on X. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. We're going to add some more content as the days go by. You probably joined us for our spaces that we usually do Mondays and Wednesdays around 9 a.m. We might be switching around that times to make it easier on you guys. I know sometimes even for certain people, 9 a.m. is just a little too early. We'll let you guys know what times those start, but they're every Monday and Wednesday. We encourage not just Chiefs fans, but Chargers fans or any fan, unless you're a bad guy, to join and give your 2 cents about Chiefs football. And yeah, we're here every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time for you guys to join and comment. And we thank everybody that is watching us right now live, but you can also hear what we are talking about in the next day on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Ethan, Corey, got anything left to say to Chiefs Kingdom for this Sunday game?
Yeah,
So
I
buckle
mean,
up and take blood pressure pills.
yeah, get ready to watch a close game.
All right. That is a very positive look into this next game. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you guys next week.
I put it all on my shoulders. Give 100 till it's over. I told you.